Hey y'all, and welcome back to Joey's Booked. So for those of you that don't know me or are new to the channel, one of my all-time favorite authors is Stephen King. Stephen King was one of the authors that really introduced me to the horror genre. As a kid, I did not like horror of any kind. I wasn't a big reader. I wasn't into anything like that. But then I had family members who really just pushed King on me as a author, and I just never really picked it up. It wasn't something I was interested in. It didn't grab for me. It wasn't until I was an adult that I got back into reading and had watched some movies, had finally started to discover horror and through media and stuff like that, and was like, okay, I think I'm going to try one of his books. And the first book of Stephen King's I picked up was Carrie, which was also his first published novel. And it just went from there. After that, I picked up The Shining. And then periodically through the years, I wasn't a huge reader, but I would just randomly pick up a book here and there. And over time, I just started collecting them, but I had never read them. I'd seen some movie adaptations, I'd seen a few other things, but hadn't touched any of the books other than those handful. Over time, I shot off as a reader. So one of my goals through these Stephen King books is I wanted to go back and read all of his works, especially now that I'm reading other things. I'm reading more in the horror genre. I'm reading things outside of horror, whether it's fantasy or more speculative fiction. And I really want to go through his. So 2 years ago, I made a goal and I said, I am going to read everything in publication order. And the only time I'm going to skip a book if it's one that I've already read and I remember pretty well, which was only like 4 or 5 maybe. And about 2 years ago, I started that journey. My goal was to at least pick up one Stephen King book every month, read it all the way through. Cool. And last year, I made it a good ways up through these. Flash forward to now. At this point in time, I have read all the way up through his work from the 70s, and I am pretty early on into his 80s of work going in publication order. Last year, my biggest goal was I wanted to start the Dark Tower series, but I didn't want to binge them all at once. I wanted to read them as they were published as well. And I got up through November of last year, I read the first book in the Dark Tower series. This year, I dropped the ball. I did not touch a single Stephen King book until May. So last month, I picked it back up. I picked up different seasons, read through those stories, went on from there. So one of my goals on this channel is going to be to start back into my Stephen King read-through. And to do that, my goal is to take one Stephen King book a month, read it, and give a review. So that may mean an individual review on a channel. If I'm just really in the mood and I do happen to pick up one or two in that month, great. But this is going to be a continuous series of me trying to reach that goal of hitting and catching up to his most recent releases. At the time of this video, his most recently released was Some Like It Darker. And that might not be something that I'm going to get to for a while, but it's one that I'm very excited to get to. So, at this point, if that's something you might be interested in, or if you're interested in me going back and checking out other Stephen King books, go ahead and click the like button on this video and hit subscribe down below if you want to keep seeing content like this.